Okay guys, it is September 24th, 2013. I have done a little work. As you can see, I have the mechanical timing tensioner on. But in order to use this mechanical tensioner, you have to cut a slot into the back of your timing cover here. So what I did is I set mine up, I put the tensioner on, marked the area, took it off and cut it. So this allows so that the tensioner doesn't rock back and forth, because you have to account for this section here. They also want you to enlarge the hole that this top left section goes into, but you don't necessarily need to do that. I did just a little bit just to be sure. So now I'm just taking off the back of the cover and adding the gaskets. While I was at it, I also cut out the front timing cover here to allow for the aftermarket cam gears, because when you use aftermarket cam gears, the bolts here touch the back of the timing cover and interfere with it, so it'll make a noise. You're going to wonder what it is. So I cut mine out to allow for that, because I want to use the cover still, but I don't want to leave it so that rocks get up in it. I've seen a lot of people do that. So all I'm going to do now is, with my committed gasket set, they provide me with the timing cover. So all I'm going to do is set these in here, and then we're going to get moving on to the camshaft seals. These are all just push-ins. These get difficult sometimes when they're not thread friendly. There's one. So all you got to really do is push behind with one finger and kind of move the other one side to side, and it should come right through. Just rock it side to side. If you can get your finger underneath the lip, you can get it just a little bit. There it goes. Okay, there we go. All this one does is it seals against the water pump. That's all this gasket does, and it helps prevent water getting down in there or anything else. So that is done. There's also another gasket. Your motor mount sits here. This is the motor mount where you have to get the engine high enough to get the back lower bolt out of. What I usually do is I just cut the bolt about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch, and you can get the bolt right in without having to hassle with it. Or trying to, keep working at it, and then all of a sudden you start getting all ticked off about it. So this one you place up on the front side of the cover. Let's see if we can't get the right sections here. So this one's going to come here. All these have just little threaders. Just kind of push it in and then pull from the other side. It's very, very simple to do. And you know which side's what because it ends here and there's nothing here. There's no place for it to press against. So just like so. It's easy and simple. I don't know if that's even in the right spot, but think I got this in wrong. I believe I do. So let's see. One section is going to here. No, I think I had it right. I don't think it's necessarily right. I kept the old one just in case. It's not really a necessity to have this, but it's something I like to, if it came with it, I'm putting it back on. How did the old one fit? That's my question. So here's the old one. This one. This one's correct. The other one that came with Comedics is actually off just a bit. It looks like. There, missing. Yeah, the one that came with Comedics is missing a few tabs. It's missing a couple in this section here. So, if you want to use it, that's up to you. I'm going to use it because the old one's a little jacked up. How they have this all placed in here. It's just way off. Yeah, this one's used for, I believe, the overhead cam. It fits, it's just, it's missing so many sections of it. So many different tabs are placed wrong. So I'm going to go back and use the old one again. Yeah, I know people are going to say, no, don't use the old stuff or this and that, but yeah, sometimes they had no choice. So this one's actually, the old one I saved is actually fitting better. Comedic gaskets, yeah, they work. There's certain ones that come in the kits that just don't work right exactly how they should. Felpro, if you get one of these from Felpro, it should be exact. Help me. All I'm doing, this one's missing its threader, so I'm just using a small screwdriver. I'm just getting enough pressure on it. Trying to wiggle it from behind. Trying to help force it through. There we go. So there's that. So now we'll move on to the camshaft seals. These are like $5-6 at Napa. Velcro gasket. So here's your gasket, your seal. What you should do is pack the backside with grease with a spring here that helps retain the tension, doesn't come out. And then you'll want to turn it as you put it in. And once you get to a certain point, you'll knock it in. So, but I just noticed I get a little rust on the sealing surface, so I'm just going to take some emery cloth and I'm going to clean it off here. So what happens when you let an engine sit for so long? You got to make sure you put a layer of grease or something on it so it protects it, it keeps it from rusting. Because if you don't, you're going to have to be doing what I'm doing right now, and it's not pleasant. And it'll tear out seals too. You want to make sure you remove any metal debris that comes off so it doesn't get down in the engine and tear up your bearings when you first start it. So I'm just going to go back with a finer grit to help take out some other deeper stuff or ridges. You know? I'm going to hit it with a little brake clean too, so I know I trace any residue out of there. Control blast. You also want to make sure that the sealing surface, because this cam tower is here, you have to use silicone, so you want to clean that out a bit, remove any of that, the silicone, before you install these seals. Otherwise you're not going to be happy later when shit starts happening. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking a razor knife and I'm going to go both directions. Just going to clean that out of there. When I install these seals, I'll put a little thin layer of silicone on it to help seal it too. If there's anything that you have to split in half and then put together, just like these cam towers, the front here, I always use a little silicone. Not much, you don't have to just go gung-ho on it, just enough to cover the outside of it. And I'll also put a little grease here. So this one doesn't fit this side because this side's bigger than this side. So, and you don't want to roll these seals. So what I'll usually do is I'll just turn it. Another way to do this is to put a thin piece of plastic in here, like real sturdy, or a piece of paper. Now something like this. And you just roll it in there and you slide the seal over it. Okay, so I'm going to put these seals in and I'll be right back. So here I have one cam seal already set up. Okay, if you look here, I've got it already. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take a socket. This is a 1.5 inch. All I'm going to do is line it up and just tap it in square. Want to tap this in square as possible. So here I have it. It's all in. You got to try to get it flush here. Got to try to get as flush as possible. So this side needs to go in just a bit. Try to get as square and flush as possible. And sometimes they'll go in a little further. When that happens, just don't do it too much. Just what I'm doing here is I'm feeling for about the same exactness. So I'm just tapping. So I'm just doing a little at a time. So it's in. It's all in. I got a little silicone on it. I put some grease onto it. So we'll move on to the other camshaft seal now. So this one, you'll do the same thing. So I'm just test fitting it to make sure. Then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some grease here. I'm just going to put a little bit on my fingers. It doesn't have to be much. Don't have to keep pumping it. I just need enough to coat into. All I'm doing is pressing the grease into this crevice back here to keep the spring from coming out. Because when the spring comes out, you lose your tension. So I'm just going to pack grease in there to help hold the spring in there, so that when I go to knock it in, the spring doesn't come on out. Just pack it in there. Yeah, it's a little messy, but that's to be expected. So I'm going to try to get all this excess grease off my hands and just pack it in. So that's all packed in. I'm just going to take a little bit of grease and go around the inside of the seal here. So with these camshaft seals, oil is on the back side and pushes on the lip, which creates a tighter seal. And the spring that's around that lip helps to hold that seal there. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a small towel here, get grease off the outside so I can put silicone on. I'm just going to, as you can see, I'm just working my fingers here. I'm going to move to another section and help clean it off more. Take a little more grease here. I'm just going to put it on the sealing surface of the journal rides. And then I'm just going to place a little bit on the journal so it'll help the seal to go on. So I'm just a thin layer. It doesn't have to be caked on there gung-ho. Just enough to get the job done. Okay. So now we're ready for silicone. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to place about yay much on each side. I'm just going to take my fingers and I'm just going to turn the seal. This is just coating it. You don't need to glob it. This is just enough to seal it. That's all you need. I'll wipe my fingers off here. I'm going to put the seal on. Clean my fingers up. I'm going to take my socket again. Change position here. And I'm just going to, again, sometimes you may have to rotate the seal. I think this seal's actually wrong. Damn it, people. I keep the wrong fucking seals all the time. Well, I gotta go pick up a idler anyway, so I'll exchange the seal. So I'm just gonna clean, or actually I'll just throw this out. Or something. Seal's wrong. I fitted it, but I don't know why it's not cooperating. Yeah, I thought something was off about it. Okay, well. Let's see, what time is it? It's 1:30, so I'm gonna go run, exchange this, and then I shall return. Okay, guys, it's been a couple hours. I replaced the seal, well, not necessarily replace, I exchanged the seal, so I got the correct seal now. So now what I'm going to do is, earlier I've cut the slot for the mechanical tensioner, we got rid of the original bracket for the hydraulic tensioner. The seals are in here. They should sit flush with the head. And then just take a rag and wipe away any excess silicone. Just like so. And then we'll just put the back cover on, and we'll start doing the timing. So, back the camera up. So, remember we already put the gasket here, and on the other one I had to reuse the old one and the other cover because it wasn't right from Comedic, so, but I'm not too worried about it. I was able to get it back on, so. Now we got to line these holes up first, otherwise it'll damage the cutter. So just kind of snug one up, not all the way. So that's in there, it's sealed. Okay, so now I'll put the idler and cam gears on. So I got a Gates timing belt idler for the vehicle. I had a choice of Ultron, but I don't trust Ultron. I prefer Gates or factory. Gates always makes some good stuff. So I'm just going to leave this loose a little bit. That way I can maneuver the belt. Cam gears. So before into your time cam gears, I will make note again that the A and the R are actually in the wrong position. The R is supposed to be where the A is, and the A is supposed to be where the R is for advance and retard on this motor, since it rotates the opposite way from these cam gears. So when you set up aftermarket cam gears, it is a good idea to take your stock cam gears and line them up. So your intake here, your exhaust here. So on the 420A motor, your intake cam, this is front exhaust, this is radiator side exhaust. The intake cam dowel is down, the exhaust dowel is up. So intake side is going to be the firewall side. So firewall side down, radiator side up. And you'll note that these have already been set to 0, as close to, and they want you to set these to 15 foot-pounds of torque. So I'm just going to set these on there. These are precision fit. This one. Here's number 2. When you order cam gears, always make sure if it's sold as 1 or 2. If it's sold as 1, you have to buy 2. If it's sold as 2, just only buy 1. That's it. So, manufacturer book says to torque these cam gear bolts to 75 foot-pounds. I'm going to torque them to 80 or 83 because I had a friend who had used these and it slipped and broke the dowel, the alignment dowel pin. So, and a torque wrench. These cam bolts are an 18 millimeter. So I'm going to find an 18. I've got my torque wrench. I'm going to set it. It's going to be a lot of torque. I don't know how I'm going to hold this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the old time belt and I'm just going to put it in place like so, kind of like a wrench to hold it. And then I'm just going to start torquing it. Ooh, that is pretty darn much. So snug it up and then torque it. Okay. So Okay, I don't want to do it this way, but I'm going to have to. No. I got no idea how that's going to work. Okay. It's one of those moments where you have to step back, take a look, and analyze the situation. So, I know how I can get it to work. So as you can see, I've pretty much fixed my rocking situation. So I'm just going to put this in here. So, and then I'm just going to go back and make sure it's on there. Just take another wrench and I believe those are 13s. These just have to be snug, they don't have to be on there, just snug them up. These aren't very big bolts to begin with. Okay, where did I put that wrench earlier? Back in its... No, I didn't. I see it. Okay, so I've lined the marks here, and then my time mark on my crank sprocket down here, I'll have to rotate that. So, what I find easier is if you're off half a tooth. So, your mark is here, the case. So, what I do is I go back off a half so I can get enough up around here, and then you'll tighten it again. Okay, is there anything else I need before I put the belt on? That's on there, that's on there. Okay, the belt. So, this is a Gates timing belt, Kevlar for racing. You can see the part number. This runs about 80, 90 bucks. There's no lines to start when or where. It's just feed from the bottom and continue on. And for a helping hand, likes to slip off. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to pick a point to start with the belt, and this belt is the same length as factory. This Kevlar, it will not stretch under high conditions that would normally make a belt stretch. So all I'm doing is just making sure this doesn't fall off, like so. I'm up around the water pump pulley here. I'm just going to leave this section off over here. And then I'm just going to make sure there's enough tension and slack here. So this will come off you want to be careful you don't accidentally make it like one tooth off. I've done that on an intake cam on one of these, and going back in while it's in the car is a pain. It takes like 4 hours to do the whole job. So there's the timing belt, and then I am just going to snug up the idler that I left loose. That way it's just easier this way. And then just kind of snug it up, doesn't need to be much. And then loosen this 13mm bolt on the tensioner. The instructions get very, I want to say, confusing on this part. It's tell you to rotate it clockwise, counterclockwise until it does this or that. I've read through the instructions multiple times, and I've seen pictures and videos to try to understand this to help you guys that potentially want to do this. So this is a 1/4 inch. You don't want you to use like any swivel heads. So as you rotate this clockwise, it'll back it off. But as you rotate it counterclockwise, it tightens it. So as you can see, the motion of it. So what I'll do is I'll bring it down here for a better view. So what's happening here is I'm rotating this counterclockwise. The window here, so this window, little slot in it, has to line up perfectly with the spring in the center of it, and then lock it down, rotate the engine twice, and then recheck it. So that's how that works. And I'll do that and return soon. The final setup, you can see I have the cam gears in. I did torque them. I did find a way. What I did is I just put a pin between the two teeth and I was able to torque it down. Idler's torqued in, so is this. I do want to make note that the metal tab here is not centered, so I will have to make an adjustment on the tensioner. Other than that, the belt's in. It's all timed up correctly. I turned it over twice already. And after my adjustments, I will turn it more to be sure. So I will put it back on the stand. I'll rotate it for you, and I will make my corrections then. Pardon the light that I use. So this light I use just so you guys can see better from my point of view. So here's the motor. Zoom in a little bit for you guys. Back her up. So here's the motor. It's all timed. So it's a 19mm here. So I'm just going to rotate this so you guys can see the beauty and awesome of it. You can see that the tensioner is doing its job. It's keeping slack better. and the tension on properly. So, and I did check beforehand the clearances for the belt, so in case I need to modify the cover again, I can do that. So I'm just going to line this back up with number 1. Number 1 is with the advanced and retards at the top and the center line lined up along with down here. So that is timing for the 420A motor. So I'll make my corrections, I'll put the timing cover back together, and then I'll put the harmonic balancer on and mark it for 0.